What is up, creators? This is Tom. Welcome back to another video. I hope you are all well. Hope you are having a fantastic week. If you missed it in my last video, basically I'm going to be uploading on Mondays weekly now. I've been struggling a little bit with sort of upload frequency and, you know, I've had a lot of freelance work, so kind of keeping it in check and just uploading as regularly as possible for you guys on the channel. So every Monday there's going to be a new video here about content creation, filmmaking or photography. And today what I want to talk to you about is camera gear. And most specifically, I want to talk to you about the best way, the way that I have acquired camera gear. So obviously I want to talk today about buying used camera gear, where to buy it from. I want to talk about some of the gear which I own and how much I actually managed to pick all of that up for. I rarely buy camera gear new now. Most of the time I actually do go for used camera gear. I've got some of the lenses and cameras that I've bought used here on my desk. I'm going to go through them, sort of go through each of the pieces of gear and then some recommendations, tips, and of course where to pick up the best deals on camera gear. So I have some gear on my desk that I have purchased used, and most notably there's one item that isn't on this desk because it is shooting me right now. This is the Canon C200. This camera still retails for around about £6,000, £5,500 to £6,000 here in the UK. It was only a year old and I picked that camera up for £3,500. I did that on a sort of private arrangement with an individual and yeah, I managed to basically slash the price of the C200 down to about 50%. I couldn't have afforded that camera if I didn't buy it used, and that goes for the same thing as a lot of these lenses and other camera systems on the desk here. So first of all is we have my favorite lens of all time. This is the Canon 70-200 f2.8. This is the second generation of this lens. Brand new, I think this retails about £2,000 here in the UK, around £1,800 here in the UK, and I managed to pick this up for £950. So again, that 50%, like slashing off like half the price of this camera lens. A few of the other pieces here, we have the lens which I made a video about in my last video. This is the 70-105 f4 IS lens, an amazing little lens for Canon. This one is an amazing deal. You can pick up used, and I bought this one for £400. So a fantastic lens choice. Don't know the full retail price on this one, but it's definitely much more expensive than £400 if you were to buy it new from Canon. Next up, we have a camera. This is the Canon EOS R. I actually traded in a different camera for the EOS R, and we'll talk about that trade-in service a little bit later. But this one, yeah, you know, is still about £1,800 to buy in the UK, and I definitely bought this for, you know, the rough equivalent of about £1,200, and this is absolutely amazing condition. So a fantastic purchase for me. This is the camera that I use for all of my pro photo work. Going to the end of the list here, this is the only used lens that I've had any issues with. This is the 24-70 f2.8. And its optics aren't amazing. There's a little bit of range in the middle where it won't focus. Sometimes you are going to have defects on some of this camera gear, and this was one for me. So I ended up buying the 24-105 instead of the 24-70. Not sure whether this actually happened before I purchased it and I just didn't test it thoroughly enough, or whether it actually happened in the sort of few months after me owning this lens. Okay, so we've run through my camera gear that I picked up used. So I want to help you with some quick tips as to things you should watch out for, and just some sort of actionable tips if you're looking to buy some used camera gear from someone who has been there and done it. First of all is don't go too used. Don't go for lenses or cameras that are sort of 5-6 years old, with the exception of some lenses which you can obviously get fantastic condition lenses that are like far older than 6 years old. But especially with cameras, is that those types of cameras are getting out of date. They might only have a few years left in them. So in my opinion anyway, the sweet spot is that 1 to 2 year sort of range, especially on cameras. You know, you can basically half the price of a camera body that would have cost you double like a year earlier. Some cameras will hold their value better than others, but the C200 was like 3 years old. And like I said, I saved definitely about £2,500 on that camera body. Don't always go for new gear, the latest and greatest gear. So go for older generation stuff. Lenses are a fantastic example of this. This is the Canon 70-200 f2.8, but it is the second generation and not the first generation of this lens. If you look at side-by-side video comparisons of, the generation 2 to the generation 3, the image quality improvements are really, really minuscule, and I was totally happy going for the second generation model and saving myself a bunch of cash, especially buying it used. I was able to pick up one of Canon's best lenses for the EF mount, and I was able to do that for, under £1,000. This is like a life lesson, but if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Used camera gear is the same for anything else. You need to be paying what is something fair. It's very rare that you're going to be able to pick up like an unbelievable deal, especially on more expensive camera gear, because people know what they're talking about. If someone's selling a C200, that price line is probably going to be in line with other people selling that camera. Don't try and save yourself a ridiculous amount of money. You would need to be looking at things that are realistic, and you should be taking a decent proportion of the retail price off, but hopefully getting a really nice piece of camera gear out of it. All right, so now where to buy this camera gear from? Where is the best place to pick up used camera gear? In my experience, my favorite place is actually Facebook Marketplace. I picked up the C200, I picked up this lens, all through Facebook Marketplace, and generally it's a bit cheaper than other sites like eBay or other services like that, because there's no overheads for the seller. Therefore, they don't have to bump up the price a bit in order to sort of get the amount that they want from that camera gear sale. It's much more like a one-to-one deal. I drove and picked up the C200 and I spoke to the person, versus on eBay, that is all just like shipped and done like that. Services like eBay do obviously need to be discussed. You can get some really good deals on eBay, but in my experience, things like camera gear, there's a lot of traders and people trying to really make some money on camera gear, so inevitably the price is pushed up a little bit. I do personally think the best deals are available on Facebook Marketplace. Another option, and something I use all the time, I've mentioned it on the channel here before, but I use a site called MPB. This is basically just a gear reseller platform. So what you can do is you can actually trade in a camera, like I traded in a camera for the EOS R, and then I upgraded to the EOS R, and I just paid the difference. And I can pick up a used EOS R, trade in my old, I think I traded in a Sony a6500, and that meant that I was able to pick up this camera, and it was absolutely a great choice, and I just paid the difference. That's a really, really good way for offsetting some of the camera gear costs, as a lot of this stuff is quite expensive. And basically, guys, that's that. I just wanted to share my thoughts. I've had a couple of you guys ask me questions about my camera gear, where I get it from, and yeah, tips and experiences from buying used camera gear, what to watch out for. I hope you found it helpful. If you've made it to this point in the video, please give the video a like. It makes a big difference here on the channel, and I'll catch you guys next Monday.